Both of the 5E lessons I taught this semester directly pertain to the nature of science. The nature of science is the endeavor on which people embark when they begin to investigate natural phenomena, gathering knowledge through meaningful experiences. It is something that anybody can do, and it is repeatable. The lessons I taught gave the students first-hand experience observing natural phenomena and developing strategies for dealing with real-world problems. I tried to cover all three legs of science with both of them so that students were not just learning content, but also the scientific processes and the nature of science. The first lesson gave them the opportunity to observe a live demonstration of how a cloud forms inside of a bottle, and then they got to observe actual clouds and make weather predictions. The second lesson required them to develop a plan to clean up an oil spill. They were under both time and financial constraints and had to test their problem-solving strategies to determine what the most efficient method for cleaning up an oil spill was. The lessons I taught were both age-appropriate. They aligned with the NGSS content standards for 5th grade and were on level with the students' abilities. The first lesson addressed 5E SS2-1, Earth Systems. Develop a model using an example to describe ways the geosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere, and/or atmosphere interact. The second lesson was themed for Earth Day and involved a simulation of an oil spill cleanup. The lesson was covered under 3-5-ETS1, Engineering Design. The students planned and carried out fair tests in which variables were controlled. The facts from the formative assessment book were very helpful while presenting my lessons. I felt that implementing the facts into my lessons made them much more effective and helped the students think more about the content being presented to them. The most effective fact I used was number 27, I think, we think. It allowed students to form their own opinions, but allowed for helpful discourse between everyone to come up with a general consensus about what the class thought as a whole. I used the scientist ideas comparison in the oil spill lesson to compare our thoughts with the scientists. The students thought it was really cool that their own ideas correlated with the ideas of professional researchers. The students loved my lesson over clouds and the water cycle. It was also my favorite lesson that I taught all semester. They enjoyed the music video I showed them and the live demonstration where I made a cloud in a bottle. I had students coming up to me for the next couple of weeks telling me about the clouds they saw and the types of weather they predicted, and I was impressed by how accurate their predictions actually were. They also had a lot of fun during the oil spill cleanup lesson. They liked using all the different instruments to try to separate the oil from the water. Not only did they learn a lot, but they had a lot of fun at the same time. My CT thought that both lessons were constructed very well and asked me to send her digital copies of them so she could use them as references in the future. The beginning of the cloud lesson went perfectly. They pondered over the probing questions, then they learned about the water cycle while singing along with a music video. They grasped the concept about how a cloud is formed by watching me make one in a bottle. It was great until we went outside to observe the actual clouds and make predictions, and there was not a single cloud in sight as far as the eye could see. We concluded that the atmosphere was in a stable condition and there was not enough condensation yet for a cloud to form. The oil spill lesson was also pretty smooth, though slightly messier. I think having more materials and more groups would have been better so that each student would have gotten to do a little more. Also, having more tools available to them would have been cool because they would have had even more options to use for cleaning up the oil spill. For the most part, they went about as good as I could have hoped they could for my first time teaching. Science has always been my least favorite subject, but surprisingly, I had the most fun teaching these two lessons.